Hey, what's going on, guys? So this is going to be my rod and reel video. I'm going to make this video a little bit less about show and tell and a little bit more. I've been saying the word educational on Facebook. I really want to kind of explain the reason why I use some of the rods. I know a lot of you guys are interested in that. So I'm going to talk a lot about the tapers and powers and actions and some of the lines and stuff that I use. The reels, I'll get into the reels a little bit, but I don't focus, as far as from my own personal use, I don't focus a lot on the reels that I use. I find a reel and I kind of stick to it for a while. I don't really get it too much into the changing reels in and out a lot, because I just feel like they're kind of secondary to the actual rod itself. Where the rod would be like the centerpiece of your bass fishing rods and reel collection, I guess, if you will. You guys know that I fish out of a kayak and from the bank for most of the time, so when I do that, space is at a premium, which I know a lot of you guys share that same idea. So a lot of my rods, even though I have 10 of them here, a lot of them can be used with other techniques, and I'll kind of go over that a little bit as well, about some of the different techniques. Because basically there's a singular purpose for the most part for every rod that's up here, but every rod can be used with different techniques. Some of them, like these green ones here, the ones with the green stick jackets over here on the end, they get a little bit more technique specific, where some of these other ones can be used with multiple techniques. So also I want to say that just because the ideas and the theories that I expressed in this video, you may or may not agree with them, and that's fine. You might find something that works better for you, so take what I say with a grain of salt. If you like what I have to say, great. If you don't, I mean, this is just my opinion. So, and I'm going to try to make this video into probably about 3 different videos, just so people can choose how they want to watch the videos, but I'm not going to separate the videos into any specific type of video, so it's just going to kind of flow into one big thing that's going to be separated into 3 videos. So pretty much you guys can see I have them separated by colors on the stick jackets. I have these purple stick jackets, I have a blue one, the 4 red ones, and the 3 green ones. Starting over here in the end, the 2 purple ones are the hard bait rods. I pretty much use every hard bait that I own with these 2 rods. Then I have a finesse rod, which is this blue one here. It's my only spinning rod that I have. I might get another one. Most people that use spinning rods actually use 2. They have a really light, like a medium light one, and then they have a medium one. I actually use a casting rod, or some people, or actually a lot of people, would choose to use a spinning rod and with that reel in place of this rod. I have a couple more worm and jig Texas rig rods. These are all the red ones, and then as far as the green ones are concerned, those are the kind of the specialty rods. For me, those are all 7.5 foot rods, and they're just more technique specific. And the techniques that I use with those rods, I can use on any of these rods over here. That's part of the reason why they don't have reels on them, because if I'm going out to a place that I know I'm going to use that technique almost exclusively, then I'll stick one of the other reels that I have from one of the other rods, and I'll stick it on that rod over there. There's an exception, my flipping stick. I just got that flipping stick, the one to the far right over there. I just got that flipping stick last week. I'm going to be getting a reel for that here pretty quick. So with that being said, I'll go over the first hard bait crankbait rod. This is by the way, all the rods here are Pal Endurance. I don't know if I said that already, but this is a 724 CB glass composite. It's 7'2", medium, moderate fast action. This rod, you guys know me from my hard bait reviews. This rod right here will I will use for 80% of the hard baits that I review. It's that versatile, and with crankbait rods, it's not like sensitivity rods, as I call them, or like the red ones here, where you need that sensitivity. You don't get a lot of options when you're looking for a crankbait rod. You usually have a 4 power and you usually have a 5 power. Some companies make a 6 power, some companies make a 3 power, but for the most part, just about every hard bait that's out there, with the exception of the real big mag topwaters that are out there, like the lunker punkers and stuff like that, I can throw on these 2 rods, and of these 2 rods, I would probably throw 80% of those hard baits on this 724. The 724 has a very, very soft tip. Something that I look for in my crankbait rods is something that has a very, very soft, limber tip. You see how the tip of it actually almost starts coming back towards me. The bending actually starts, I think this is a 9 or a 10 plus 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is a 9 plus 1. And you can see the bending starts around here or here, so it's like the 3rd or the 4th guide. So it's a more parabolic action. When somebody says a parabolic action, it means that it's more of a gradual curve over the entire rod. Now I understand that the rod is not bending the entire way, but when you see the ones that have an extra fast action or an extra fast taper, you'll see that they only bend really up towards the tip there. And this is important because we use in hard baits, and this is just my idea behind this, and I know a lot of people share this as well. When you use these crankbaits that have these little treble hooks, each hook on them is just a little tiny round bend or extra wide gap style hook, just a little tiny one, like the size of what would be maybe a number 2 or a number 3, or I guess it would be a number 4, and there's not a lot of 3s out there. But this is a really small hook, so you really want to be able to have a rod that will allow the fish to fight and not tear his mouth up by having a really stout tip. Because if it has the type of extra fast taper where it gets into the power of the rod, this section here, which would be the power section of the rod, if it gets to that section of the rod too quickly, it's going to get into what they call the power section of the rod too fast, and it's going to start ripping up the fish's mouth. So this is something that I look for when I fish crankbaits and stuff like that. I look for something that has a really soft tip. Like I said, you can see that tip. It almost starts to bend back towards me in that respect. This has got 10-pound monofilament on it. The monofilament allows me to fish topwaters and stuff like that on it too. I would probably still use the monofilament because this is my 100% rip bait rod. I could also use rip baits. I could use rip baits all the way up to like the pointer 128. Once you get to the pointer 128, you might want to jump into the 5 power here. But I use this rod for all of my poppers, all of my prop baits, most of my walk the dog cigar style walkers, like the 4s and even some of the 5-inch walkers that are out there, even the gunfish. So and that also having that monofilament, when you use it with rip baits, it'll allow the bait to, because it's a more spongy line and you're using it with a spongy rod, it'll actually allow the bait to finish a slight movement in the water after you get done imparting the action and twitching the rod tip. Because if you have a really stout rod with, let's say, braided line where it doesn't give it all, when you get done twitching, the bait stops. Well, when you go and you twitch this rod and it's got a really like loose action the way that this one does, and it's kind of like a willow branch, it will allow the bait to kind of shimmy a little bit at the end. That was a trick that a friend of mine that I respect a lot as far as bass fishing goes. I learned pretty much just about everything I know from the guy, and that was something that I learned from him. So I pretty much use, like I said, about 80% of my hard baits with that rod there. And then we jump over to here. This is a 705 CB glass composite. It's a 7-foot medium heavy moderate fast action. So you're jumping up 1 power from a 4 power to a 5 power. It's also worth noting that on this rod here, the 7'2", my one complaint about it is that I wish that it was a true 7 foot, not a 7'2". I don't own a rod under 7 foot in my entire, out of all the combos that I have, I don't own a rod under that. I just don't really have much of a use for them. Now with this rod, if they would have taken the 2 inches off of the butt section here, it would allow the butt section to sit more here on the middle part of your forearm as opposed to towards your elbow here. And it just would have been a little bit more comfortable when you're walking, doing like cigar shaped walkers like spooks and stuff like that, or even rip baits. But it doesn't impede what I do out on the water. I've learned to deal with it, and I actually really like that rod a lot. This 705 here is pretty much my stone cold square bill crankbait rod and lipless crankbait rod. It is a true 7 foot, and this has 12-pound monofilament on it. Again, just the fact that I could be able to use some topwater baits if I chose to use like a bigger like 1 ounce topwater bait or something like that, then I could use it with this rod. But for the most part, I'm using this rod with lipless crankbaits and with square bill crankbaits. Square bill crankbaits because square bill crankbaits generally like a Lucky Craft Fat CBBDS. If you look at the hooks on them, they're very, very fat, very, very thick and larger. And most square bill crankbaits come with larger hooks on them. So I like to have that little bit of extra power to drive those thicker gauge hooks into the fish's mouth, with still being able to have a soft tip on the rod. And then also, I don't think, me personally, I have found a better rod for throwing lipless crankbaits. It has enough backbone without compromising the tip. A lot of people look for the backbone to rip the lipless crankbaits through the weeds and stuff like that, and they can't find it, so they end up using braided line and what I would call like a worm and jig rod. And that's fine, and that works for some people. For me, I feel like you're gambling by possibly going to be losing some fish by doing that. You can see that this has that same kind of a parabolic action, but it's very thick in the power section of the rod. This one bends more on the 4th guide up from the bottom, so where the other one kind of was even getting into the 3rd guide from the bottom here. So, but you can see it's still bending about, I would say, about 1/3 to even a halfway down the rod. So this actually, I didn't go over the reels, but this reel is a Shimano Curado 200 G6. It's an okay reel. I like it a lot for the casting that I can get out of it. I think that the 200E was a nicer reel. And they actually came out with another, I think it's the 200F, and that one actually looks really nice. I'll probably end up getting that for the flipping stick over there. But I really enjoy the Curados because Shimano, they make a really, really smooth reel. So, I mean, that's just kind of their business. So, I'm going to go ahead and stop right there. We're about 13 minutes in, so I'm going to stop right there, and then we're going to continue on in another portion. So stay tuned. You can go into the playlist. I'll make up a little playlist for this, and you can go find part 2 of this video.